Sanbonani. Namhlanje, before we start on part 6, bengicela ukuphendula some recurring questions in your comments, please. I have grouped together the recurring questions into 7 groups, and I'm going to try and answer them now. If I pelele with video 1, I'll do 2 videos answering the questions, and then we can start on part 6. Number 1, how do you buy such an expensive car and then leave the bank without a copy of the installment sale agreement? This is a valid question. First, for this transaction, I never set foot at the bank. Everything happened at the dealership. The signing of the documents on the day I took delivery of the car was at the dealership. I remember it was between 6 and 7 at night. There was load shedding. Their generator had just blown up and there was no electricity. It was dark when I went to collect my car. Then I was told about problems with printers and the electricity. But the main thing was that the bank has to first moderate the contract, co-sign, and then email it to me. So I said to them, no problem. So I'll collect the car when all of that is done. I'm not taking the car. So they panicked a bit and there were conversations up and down. Eventually, the owner of the dealership came to me and said, Prof, here's what I'm offering you. Please take the car. I'm writing you a letter on my letterhead. I will personally sign it. And I will explain that the installment sale agreement is in process. The bank has to co-sign and moderate it, and the fact that you bought the car from us, so everything is in order. And for me, that letter was sufficient. So I took the letter, and that letter went a long way to defend me in court. Second question was regarding the default and summary judgment. I think there was a confusion there. What happens is if you default at a bank, they then apply for default judgment. If you defend that default judgment, then the bank comes back and upgrades it into summary judgment. By the time you get a court date, you're going to argue summary judgment in court. My gripe was exactly that. I was sitting in court to go and argue against the summary judgment. But the bank was unethical. They went behind my bank to chambers to find an acting judge to grant an order wrongfully. That is exactly my gripe. And this ended up at the Judicial Service Commission. It's a matter that we are discussing later in the process. Third, somebody asked, why was I defending myself? Why did I have to prepare the applications myself? Why didn't I hire a lawyer? This is an imperative question. I was going to address it at the end, which I will, but I will just explain this. What banks or powerful people do, but especially banks, is they brief every law firm that has muscle. They give it work. And they look at all the smaller law firms and the individual lawyers that have got muscle, that have got a brain. They brief everybody so that when you go to anybody needing a lawyer to defend you against the bank, everybody tells you, I'm sorry, it's conflict of interest. They are my client. Nobody can touch you because they're all briefed. This is deliberate. It's a strategy, but we'll discuss it in another video. And somebody wanted to know why the judge questioned me for nearly 2 hours. Like, what kind of questions are those? The exam? No. So what happens in urgent court, the judge has not had the benefit of time to read the papers. So everything the judge has to know has to come from you. Mina, I am obsessed with my documents. Just so you know, I got a merit award for my law of evidence. I am obsessed with documentation. I keep everything. So everything I was saying, I was producing a paper. Everything I was saying, I was producing a paper. So it takes time for the judge to read and understand, then have more questions. So the process was slower because she didn't have the benefit of reading the papers beforehand. And somebody wanted to know about why did I say the National Credit Act was violated and they used my child as the buyer. Very simple. I told one of the CEOs, Mr. Ben Kruger, whose daughter was in the same class as my daughter at Rodin. This child had just finished school and just starting university. How could she be the buyer of a car worth millions? It just didn't make sense. But also that's in another video, the NCA entire explanation. Lastly, a lot of people want to know, with such a burden placed on people, how can a layman, somebody who gets a normal salary and who doesn't have this amount of courage and resources, how does that person survive an ordeal like this? You don't survive it. So this is another video as well, but that's why I established Hammond & Hammond Incorporated. And they wanted to know, this is a niche thing and she's going to charge so much. I don't take people's money. I just help you. You come to me with a problem and I help you.